All right. My name is Alan C. I'm the CEO of New Kingdom Entertainments. This is my podcast, Be Quiet, Grown Folks is Talking. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't know everything, but I do know a lot of things. I'm definitely a work in progress. I have a gentleman here next to me, uh, Ray Martin. I watched him growing up. He's a little older than me, but he's one of the people that I watched and try to emulate in certain respects. I mean, in certain respects as I was growing up. He may not know this, but I watched him very closely. You'd be surprised how close we're about to find out. Uh, Ray, introduce yourself. Tell them who you are, what you do. Let them know who you are.
Okay, no problem. First and foremost, Alan, it's great to see you. It's been a minute since we had a chance to sit down and chat. So I'm looking forward to the entirety of the interview. Again, like I said, my name is Ray Martin. Born and raised in Long Island City, Queens, in the Queensbridge projects. Um, that's where Alan and I kind of crossed paths, and both raised in Queensbridge projects. And once I got into middle school and then high school, went to Monte Cristi High School in Astoria, Queens. Played a lot of basketball. Was fortunate to get a scholarship in basketball to go to the University of Notre Dame. And then once I graduated from Notre Dame back in 1977, I was able to get into coaching, coached at Harvard for a year, then went on to the big time, as they say, went to the ACC, coached at NC State. In that time, 8 years, I was able to be part of some great teams and coach some great ball players, guys who went on to the pros, and we'll get into that later on. But while at NC State, I was able to be part of a magical ride, and we won the national championship in 1983. I'll propose to talk about it now with the NCAA tournament going on for the men and the women. Also won a couple of ACC championships, went on and coached at several other places, and just recently retired from the University of North Carolina A&T, located in Greensboro, North Carolina. So now I'm retired, trying to find things to do. My wife want to get me out of the house, part-time job, and I try to spend a lot of time. I have 4 kids, 4 adult kids, have 6 grandkids. So I spend time with my grandkids as much as I can. I try to play as much golf as I can down in North Carolina. Matter of fact, as we speak, I'm here in Gastonia, North Carolina, because it's my grandson's 4th birthday, and we're going to have a birthday party for him sometime later on today. So that's my story, and that's what I'm sticking with.
Well, you kind of covered like the beginnings of us meeting, uh, of us growing up in Queensbridge together. Like I said, you were ahead of me, and I watched your whole career, and I watched you when you came out. I used to, you probably don't know it, but I used to watch you practice sometime in the center when what's
Hank
the name used
Carter?
to let you in there. Hank used to let you in there. Used to let you in there on the weekends and practice
Was it
sometime by yourself.
Hank?
I watched that a few times.
Right, right. We're talking about Jacob Reed Center,
Yeah,
which is the community center in our
yeah,
projects,
right.
and that was kind of the I can say it, the haven for all the ball players, and just the community center meant so much to everybody in the projects, because you can go in there and evening times you play pool, you play ping pong. It was an activity play, learn some arts and crafts, and then there was a room where you had a big jukebox and you listened to music. So all the kids was in there. It was a gathering place, and then obviously there was a gym, and that was my oasis. That was my place to kind of go away and get away from all the drama and everything, and just work on my craft. So we're talking about Reese Community Center in Queensbridge projects.
Absolutely. I wanted to go over. I'm surprised nobody has ever interviewed you about what I'm about to talk to you about, because
Yeah.
you've been part of probably three biggest moments in college basketball history. And I find it amazing that nobody's has ever interviewed you and talked about that. Um, like I said, I watched your whole career. I watched you come out of Monte Cristi. I watched you go to Notre Dame, and I was, it's so funny. I was a big fan of Notre Dame football when I was a kid. It used to come on at night, and I used to watch it every Saturday night. And it looked like they won.
You
Every
and me
time I
both.
watched it, they won.
Absolutely.
Notre Dame football back when we was kids was big. And
Absolutely.
so I was a fan of Notre Dame before you went there. Okay, so yeah, and then I watched you come out of there. I thought you was going to the pros, but I heard that you had an incident. You broke up your leg or something your
My
senior year.
ankle, unfortunately, against the University of Indiana, and Bobby Knight coach team, and Ken Benson, and those
Mm-hmm.
guys were on that team. What's his name? May and Buckner and those guys.
Yeah.
This was in '77. Unfortunately,
Didn't
we
they
just
go
got back.
undefeated that year? Is that the year they went undefeated and won the championship?
I think they went undefeated in '75, if not mistaken.
Oh,
But
okay. All right.
it was during my 4 years in college when they did go undefeated.
That's what I would thought.
Yeah, I
Because
just
that's
come
part
back.
of your big history is the fact that I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this clip real quick.
All right, go ahead.
I hope I can get it on here real quick.
And while you're working on that, it did happen, unfortunately, in that game where I broke my ankle, and that probably shattered my opportunity to make it to the pros. But the story behind everything is make sure you have a backup plan. Make sure you have an opportunity to get your education, because you never know if an accident is going to take place. But you go ahead.
Absolutely. Or that things just don't work out, because that's something I ran into when I tried to do that, when I tried to play ball in school, and I didn't understand the culture because I didn't play high school basketball. I think the only organized basketball I played 1 year in junior high school, then I played 1 year for City League with Hank. And that's all that organized basketball that I played before I walked on at the University of Bridgeport. And I really didn't understand the culture, and that's why I wasn't successful there. But be that as it may, I want to watch this. This is the last minute, because your team, you was on the team that stopped UCLA's 88 game winning streak.
Absolutely.
Was it 88 games?
Yes, 88 games is still considered one of the top three or top two all-time college basketball games watched. And when you come out with the rankings, is always in the top five. And having an opportunity to be part of that amazing victory and historic moment as a freshman was outstanding.
You know what? I didn't understand, but later on, when I did understood, and I understood the culture, I didn't understand why you didn't take that shot in the basket at the end of the game. But I did later on, because you was instructed not to shoot at all, right?
No, it wasn't not to shoot at all. And I guess you're talking about the shot that Dwight Clay made to win the game.
No, I'm talking about towards the end of the game, you broke away, or somehow you was underneath the basket and you had an easy layup and you didn't take it. You brought the ball back out because I think you was told to work the clock.
I don't recall that, but I'm sure that looking at the tape we'll see it. But basically, as a point guard, which I was in college, my responsibility, Alan, was to run the show, to get all my teammates in the score, get them involved in the offense. Obviously, I was the lead person to start the defense. The defense started with me at the top of half court or top of the key. And then, I was a pass first, shoot second type of point guard.
Yeah,
Nowadays,
okay.
The combo
That's what we
guard.
was taught back then.
Yeah,
Back
you
in
got
them,
the
and
combo
that's
guard
what you was
men.
taught.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as scoring, that was something that wasn't an afterthought. But after I made sure that all my guys was set, and let's say if the defense was really trying to disrespect me and not give me no pressure, then I would penetrate. And as you know, New York guards, the best thing we do is penetrate and go to the hoop. Okay,
At
but the
that
best,
time, New York had the best guards ever.
exactly.
So let's play this
Okay,
tape real quick.
go ahead.
The contrast between the veteran Wooden and the electric young coach of the Irish. 34, 33, 32, 31. That's Clay to score!
Yeah, that's the shot Clay made.
Yes.
The first time the Irish have led in the game, 71-70. Timeout, UCLA with a score.
Stop the clip for a second if you can.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, let me just embellish a little bit on that particular segment of the clip. When I was bringing the ball up, we had set up a play. We came out of a timeout. We set up a play to go inside to John Shoemate, who unfortunately passed about a month and a half ago.
That's who? Okay.
Yeah, my big man, and just a great teammate, a great human being, and I have a heavy heart losing John Shoemate. But the ball was scheduled to go into Shoemate or to Gary Brokaw, who was hot and was on fire in that game. He was unstoppable. So the play was set to go to one of those two guys. That's why you see me pass it to the wing and then go to the corner. Okay.
Right.
And I passed it to Gary Brokaw in the wing, went to the ball side corner, and then Gary drove into the paint, into the 3-second area. And what happened was Tommy Curtis, who was guarding Dwight Clay, came off of Dwight Clay, went into the middle to help to stop the penetration, and that allowed Clay to have the space to hit the jump shot when Gary seen him being free and threw the ball to him. So we was looking for Shoe. Broke was going to take it if he had nothing else, but because Tommy Curtis came off of Dwight Clay and allowed Dwight Clay space, Gary Brokaw made the right play. And that's what basketball is all about, making the right play.
Well, we were talking
playing
about
the right way.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but we were talking about that in reference to the women play. We was talking about how women. I felt like I didn't know until you agreed with me that I was on the right track. I felt like women were more fundamental than the men. That they played a more fundamental game. They play. From what I see, they playing basketball the way it's supposed to be played. They're not with all that selfish stuff and doing all that weirdness. They pass the ball and they move well. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah. Well, let me say this. There's no doubt the women play below the rim. Okay, there are some women in college basketball today that can dunk the ball. You don't see it a lot in traffic. You don't see it a lot in half court sets. You don't see it a lot in half court movement. But in a breakaway, a fast break, a solo fast break, if the right young lady has the ball in that breakaway, she has the ability to dunk it. They will dunk it. I think that adds to the fundamentals that's so important. The men play fundamentally also, but because we play above the rim, and we're athletic to where we jump higher and move quicker and much stronger than the women players, that's where you see a lot of the dunking, you see a lot of the alley oops, you see a lot of the taking to the rim aggressively. So they might break away from the set play every now and then because of their individual talents, or it might be a situation where if the coach feels that you can deliver a bucket or deliver a set and an offensive possession where you can go one-on-one, go solo. In men's basketball, that's part of the whole system. In women's basketball, there's situations where you can do that, but most of the time you see a lot of passing side to side, moving the defense, and then attacking where the openings are. And that's where the fundamentals come in.
Absolutely. Let's watch the rest of this clip.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Notre Dame leads for the first time on this shot by Dwight Clay.
Look at the jumper, baseline, right side, Walton underneath. Look at the look on his face as the ball settles in the net.
That is the first field goal for Clay in the second half. In fact, I think it's the first time he shot the ball in the second half, and they are celebrating.
This is so old. It's so old. The copy, the film is like it's blurry.
I know it's turning into black and white.
Yeah.
But let me just set it up a little bit. We just coming out of a timeout, and we know we're up one at the time, and our main goal is to play extremely tough defense, make it very hard. You see me playing defense on Tommy Curtis, not letting them get the ball. Okay, they get it in, and now we're playing straight man to man. I'm on Tommy Curtis, and right here we almost get a steal. Check it out. We almost get a steal right there, and I was so upset. So this is when he takes the shots, the flurry of shots go up, and we had the rebound right there, Alan, but the referee called that Gary Broker was out of bounds.
Yeah.
Okay, see, Gary has a rebound right there. We're thinking that it's off of Keith Wilkes, but no, they called it was UCLA ball, and this is the end of the play. 1, 2, 3 opportunities they had, and then my man John Shoemate gets the rebound, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yo, I seen that in real time. I watched you do that in real time, and yeah, that has to be one of the biggest upsets and the most incredible wins ever. One the top. Now it's got to be top 5, like you said. It was incredible.
Absolutely. Here we see the inbound to Walton. He shoots away from his strong side, misses the shot. They get a second offensive chance, a third offensive chance, and then Shoemate finally gets the rebound and throws it up to the rafters. And you can see with my hands,
I see you.
Celebrating and feeling like we just conquered the world.
Now, because at that time y'all did, because they were the dragon, they were the monster. Like at that time you did. You slayed the dragon.
The mountain. Yeah, exactly. And they, like we said, they had an 88 game winning streak. Imagine that.
The Unison Platinum Club is officially.
They didn't lose in probably 3 seasons. They were undefeated for about 3 seasons because you play about 27, 28 games a season back then. Now you're playing about 35 games, maybe 40, depending on how far you go in the NCAA tournament.
Right.
Figure, 28 games, close to, 88 game winning streak. So they went undefeated for like 3 years.
I know that's when Wooden was winning everything. It seemed like he was winning the NCAA tournament every year.
Yes. They won it 8 years in a row under John Wooden, their coach, and no one's ever, obviously matched that, and I don't think anybody will match that. And I think they won 11 total, maybe 12, but they won it back to back to back to back. It was unbelievable.
The Wizard
UCLA,
of Westwood.
Yeah, they were the standard. They set the standard. They were the gold standard in college basketball, 60s and 70s when I played, and that's the team that you all looked up to, the team you want to be recruited by, because you want to go to UCLA. They were the king of the mountain, and in order to have an opportunity to play them and then beat them, I'm gonna give you another caveat that most people don't know. UCLA's winning streak started back in '71. Okay, at Notre Dame. Okay, they.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we beat them. When I say we, Austin Carr, College Jones, and the guys who played at that time beat them okay, at Notre Dame back in '71, and they didn't lose another game after that loss until they played us 3 years later.
Again. Yeah. That's
Unbelievable.
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, right? Crazy.
So that's gotta be actually, like you said, top five. I believe will be top five, one of the greatest moments in college basketball history. So
Yes. Yeah.
now you get out of college, you start coaching, and you end up with you end up coaching with Valvano. Like, how did that come about?
That's an interesting question. And I was working in the athletic corporation athletic business. I was working for an athletic company called Pony Sports and Leisure, and it was a apparel company. The main thing was track, and they made shoes for runners, track runners. And we had a basketball arm to the company, and I was involved in working there as the head director of college and professional sports. So my job was to sign contracts with college coaches, and then also try to sign contracts with NBA players. But to make a long story short, the reason I ended up at NC State was because of a couple of things. My high school coach, Jim Gatto, who's like a second father to me.
That's the coach at Monte Cristi.
At Monte Cristi, exactly. He knew Coach Valvano because being a coach and being in the profession and being in the particular limelight, we always had great players come out of Monte Cristi from going back to the mid '60s through my time there and after. So Coach Valvano used to come to our school to recruit the players when he's at Iona. But unfortunately for Coach Valvano, the players he wanted to recruit were a little bit better than Iona. Not to put Iona down, but we were a little better than Iona.
Yeah.
We were recruited by bigger schools. Okay. So Coach Gatto and Coach V built up a reputation and a friendship. So when Coach V went from Iona down to NC State in 1980, he wanted to look for a couple of guys from New York to come down with him because he wanted to be able to come down and have some New York guys that he's familiar with. And he wanted to recruit back in New York City. And some other guys along the way, a guy by the name of Kenny Williamson, who worked at Iona for Jimmy V, recommended me. Coach Gatto recommended me. I had a chance to talk with Coach Valvano about the job, and he offered me the position. And I came down there in 1980. I was 25 years old, and that was the start of coaching in big-time basketball.
That was the same game went down south too, 1980. I didn't know that.
Okay.
That was the same time. But I remember following you. I remember when you started off at State, because there was quite a few brothers that was playing at the time. As a matter of fact, at one time there was like 14 Division I players out of Queensbridge, something like that. Might have been more. But I mean, that was almost at one time within like maybe a 5 or 6 year span.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm not surprised.
What you were saying? When you might say something?
I said I'm not surprised because our projects produce some great ball players over like a 20-year span, and I'm talking when I was in junior high school. Okay, there was great players coming out of Queensbridge projects that went to Long Island City, the local public school
about Potts
right up the street. Yeah. William Potts Holly, Brother Lloyd, Walter Brother Lloyd, Hank Ballard and William Ballard, the Glovers, James Glover and his brother, the Hoopers, Wally and Willie Hooper. I can go on and on.
You mentioned some names I have forgot all about. You mentioned some names I have forgot all about.
Yeah, Holmes. He was another good one at LIC. And I'm sorry, I probably missed a lot of other good plays, but there was a whole lot of good plays that came out of Long Island City, came out of Queensbridge, way before
we're gonna talk.
we had a chance
We're gonna
to
talk about some more of this. Second, I think all three of these that we're about to could be in the top five, because this is the second one I'm about to when y'all won the ACC championship, which that should have never happened. Y'all beat.
Yes.
I didn't really remember. Y'all beat Ralph Sampson for the
Yes.
ACC that year, right?
Yes. I tell you,
I didn't remember that like
it was
that. I
a
had to look back
magical,
at
it
that
was a
and I said,
magical
"Wow."
run. Yeah, and this is the funny thing about it. And I forgot about that run because that was the same year we won the national championship. So the national championship kind of overshadows what happened in the ACC tournament. And,
But y'all wouldn't have got there. Y'all wouldn't have got there without that.
Absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
I thought y'all was done when Derek Whittenberg got hurt. I thought y'all was done.
Right.
I didn't think y'all had any chance.
Right. A young man from Harlem. He went to a school up in the Bronx called Talentine High School. But a young man who was a freshman from Harlem named Ernie Myers. Okay, All-American, McDonald's All-American, the whole nine. I had the pleasure of recruiting and bringing him down to NC State. He took over in that span of about maybe 7 or 8 games when Whittenberg was out, and had a phenomenal run, an unbelievable stretch of like 7 games. We averaged almost 20 points a game, and this is a freshman. So
wow.
as much as we missed Derek and his leadership, we kept, it just kept ticking. We just kept ticking and kept rolling. And then when Derek came back, we adjusted. But going into the ACC tournament, we opened up against Wake Forest. And this is a crazy thing about the Wake Forest game. We played Wake Forest the last regular season game in the conference in Raleigh. Beat them by about 25, 30 points. Just spanked them. It was senior day, the whole night. There's no way they're going to win that game. Okay? They had no shot at winning that. And we blew them out by about 25, 30 points, not knowing that the very next game in the ACC tournament, we had to play Wake Forest again. And as a coach, and even as a player, as a coach, you kind of fear that situation because the guys, we just blew them out. We don't have to worry about them. They're going to be easy catch, easy pickings. And then as a player, you kind of relax a little bit because, we playing against them guys? We good. And you don't want to give a team that's on a mission opportunities. And we played them to like a 1 or 2 point victory. It was down to the wire. We could have lost that game very easily.
I know y'all. Please, y'all could have lost so many games.
Yeah,
that was a cardiac kid skill. I watched that in real time, and every time I was on my seat, wondering if y'all was going to win.
Absolutely.
What was I going to say?
Yeah, Lorenzo Charles, kid out of Brooklyn. He knocked in a couple of free throws that gave us a chance to win that game, and then the next game was going to be against North Carolina. Okay, and everybody thought that we would lose that game because at the end of the day, for TV purposes, for ratings purposes, for just sheer fan enthusiasm, the media, the TV folks wanted Ralph Sampson to go against Sam Perkins in North Carolina.
Absolutely.
And they thought that would be the best game for TV purposes, for ratings. Yeah. So they didn't want to see us. And when we beat Carolina in another nail biter, we ended up playing Virginia for the championship. And, we won that game and became ACC champs in 73. Tournament was held in Atlanta, Georgia. And we moved on from there and got into the NCAA tournament. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that
Yeah, absolutely. I want to run the video from the ACC tournament because I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't think y'all had a chance. I didn't think y'all had a chance. I really didn't. And let me see. Let me get this right. ACC tournament. Yeah, I didn't think y'all had a chance. I mean, I watched your whole run. Right.
Do you hear some bells going off or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's
end?
you. I think that's in your crib.
Is it?
Because
I'm in my den and I don't know where it's coming from. I wish I can cut it off so it wouldn't interrupt our conversation, but
yeah.
I'm in the den here, so
if you want to take a second.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's
well, with the ACC tournament coming up, let's do what my favorite thing is, to dip into our video vault to 40 years ago when the 1983 Cardiac Pack won the title by upsetting Virginia. That was a Cavaliers team that included three-time National Player of the Year Ralph Sampson and head coach Terry Holland.
I know this broke his heart. This was his last chance to win a championship,
story
wasn't it?
from that night in Atlanta in 1983.
Absolutely. ACC championship anyway. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like Alvin Battle, for instance, Virginia fans were calling him Brickmaker until he muscled this shot over the great Ralph Sampson. Or Terry Gannon. Virginia might have found time to complete its comeback had Gannon not stripped this ball from Sampson. Still, this was a victory of, by, and for State's three seniors. Thurl Bailey.
TaxAct doesn't expect you to have all the answers.
Right there.
That's why we've got experts on hand
they
who
had
do.
a commercial.
Well, the answer.
Derek Wittenberg. And Sidney Lowe. Wittenberg's two free throws iced it. The Everett Case Award went to his pal Sid.
And the winner this year on the Wolfpack, Sidney Lowe.
Did they get he won the tournament of MVP?
Yes. Let me tell you something. Sidney Lowe may have been.
These guys are celebrating because they hit big shots, and also because they believe they could beat the great Sampson.
Point guard.
Coach V put me in there primarily to take the ball to Ralph, because nobody else wanted to do it. So I decided I'm going to take it to him, and that's what I did.
The kids, Ralph.
Ultimate prototype point guard, and just controlled the game, controlled everything on the court, ran the game like a point guard should, and me being an old point guard, I really appreciated what he did and how he did it. I'm not going to say I had any help in making it happen. He was a phenomenal player. But from one point guard to another, I can see what he saw. I can see what he was trying to do, and step by step, frame by frame, picture by picture, I see where he was coming from, and he ran the team flawless. You know, this is the same guy about 80%, 85% of the time in our games. And during the Final Four, in the two games during the Final Four, he had 0 turnovers. 0 turnovers.
Really?
He controlled the ball between 85 and 90% of the time.
No doubt.
Phenomenal.
That's probably why. That's part of the reason why y'all won.
Oh no, phenomenal! Yeah, you got you're watching these games today as we speak during the NCAA tournament. The teams that have the best guards have a really good chance of winning or going deep into the tournament. Now, I'm not going to say if you got a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or you got a Cedric Hakeem that the dream that you can't win. But
we're about to get to that because. Normally, I never would have thought y'all would have beat them.
Normally in college, if you have good guards, you can go a long way in the NCAA tournament.
Well, this is just, I guess the rest of this is just interviews. So I guess we could just go on to the third, I think, biggest moment in college basketball history moment was y'all winning the whole thing. And what I want to ask you is this: did y'all talk about? Y'all had a philosophy called what's in it? It was something in advance. Survive in advance.
Survive in advance. Absolutely.
So that was a philosophy that y'all had talked about and went over before y'all started the tournament.
Let me tell you how that came about. In the first round of that year's NCAA tournament, we were in Corvallis, Oregon, playing against Pepperdine. They had a couple of New York players on that team, and they were very solid. Jim Herrick, who went on to coach at UCLA and win the national championship at UCLA, was a coach at the time. And it was a late game. It came on late at probably 10:30, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And we was in for a battle. And during a lot of that second half, late in the second half, it was either a one possession game or we were down a point or two. And we could have very easily lost that game. And this, miracle 83 year and win the national championship and survive in advance would have been never heard of or talked about. And we end up winning the game, and it was because we missed the free throw, but one of our players got the offensive rebound on the missed free throw and put it back in the basket.
Yeah, Lorenzo. Was that Lorenzo?
That was Cozell McQueen.
Cozell, yeah.
And that tied it, and we went into overtime. And you got to remember now, we're in overtime without our leader at point guard, Sidney Lowe. He had fouled out the game.
Right. So that's why Wittenberg ended up with the ball at the top of the key.
Well, that was in the championship game. Okay, I'm talking about one of the first game in the NCAA tournament against Pepperdine.
Okay.
And we ended up winning that game, and it was survival, and that's kind of where the term "survive in advance" came into play.
And let me ask you this: did Valvano come up with the idea of fouling people at the end of the game to using fouling people and making them go to the line?
Yes, that was one of Coach's strategies. Coach was really ahead of his time. Excellent X and O's, excellent motivator, excellent coach who knew the situation at the time and what to do. Okay, and one of Coach V's strategies, and one of the things us as assistants to do is during the course of the game, the guy's going up and down playing, and he's on one knee looking at the game, or he's on the bench next to the coaches. He wanted us to just throw out ideas in the flow of the game. Coach, should we go 1-3 in the chaser? Coach, should we go one-on-one with Thurl Bailey on the block? Coach, should we go ISO with Sidney Lowe? Or Derek Wittenberg's hot. Should we run some plays for Derek? He wanted all this information. He was like a computer. He wanted all this information flowing back and forth from us to him, and then he would pick out what he thought at the moment fit. Okay, so one of the things that he always wanted to do was, if we were down, by 1 point, and the other team had the ball, and or was a tie score, okay, depending on how much time is on the clock, he always felt that he didn't want their best player to beat us. Let somebody else beat us, because the chain of thought was someone else beating you, that individual is not used to being in that situation. He might have tight sneakers, as we called it. He might have a tight and he's not used to hitting the big shot. So Coach always wanted the ball to close the game, fouling someone on the opposing team with 10 seconds to go, and we're down 1. But now we got the ball. If he knocks in both free throws, we got the ball to make the winning play, that's what we did. That's what he always instructed the team to do. And 9 out of 10 times, he was very successful in that strategy.
Absolutely. I watched him.
It picked up with
coaches use that. That's standard. That's standard now. Absolutely. At the end of the game. For people, that's what how people make them go to the line. That's standard operation procedure.
Right. And that's what I mean when I say Coach V was ahead of his time.
Right. Absolutely.
In his X's and O's and things that he did with the basketball team, things what he did off the court, his speaking engagements and everything that he did in his life. He was just ahead of his time.
You know what I noticed? And you still call him coach. You still refer to him as coach. And that's what I talk about, the culture. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that culture. I didn't understand that. And the respect that you have for him, that you still call him coach now, even though you've been a coach and all that. When you refer to him, you're talking to him right now, you keep saying coach, coach, coach. Like he's your coach, like you still with him on the bench.
Well, that's the way we were taught the game. That's the way we were taught how to address our, elders and those in authority. I still call my high school coach Coach Gatto. I don't call him Jim. Okay.
Right.
I'm 70 years old, and I still refer. Okay. I still refer to Digger Phelps as coach. Okay. I still refer to my guys who coached me growing up. Okay, that's Coach so-and-so. So that's a respect, like you mentioned, and that's the way I was taught the game. To respect the chair, respect the head coach who's in that chair, and that's where I seen the game. I respected the game, and that's the way we were taught. So, we were taught the fundamentals of the game from a very young age, playing back in Reese Center, as you mentioned, in the projects, or going down to 111 that you know about, and playing down at 111 Elementary School, or playing for a coach by the name of Kurt Shipman, who taught me and some of my teammates, Roy Beekman and Walter Washington and David Harrington, Robert Taylor, these guys who was with me ever since we started playing CYO ball with St. Rita's Parish. Okay. We learned the game that way. We were taught to play the game the right way and basically to address our elders, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir, no, ma'am, and so forth and so on. And that sticks with me. Like I said, I'm 70 years old, and that sticks with me today.
Nothing wrong with that.
Out of respect. Out of respect.
So we're going to play this last video. This is when y'all won the championship, and we're going to play this real quick.
Yes. As you're playing it, let me just kind of set it up.
Yeah, you go ahead. Don't feel free. Chime in. Me? I said, feel free to chime in whenever you feel.
You see the time.
Thinking that we're going to still in man-to-man. Okay? We think they're going to still be in man-to-man, and they're going to like a trap. So, honestly, caught us off guard.
But I didn't know that was that short. Yeah, that was for me, that was an incredible moment for me to see that.
And
because I didn't think,
was, Alan,
and I definitely didn't think y'all was gonna be 5 slammer jammer, because y'all beat the best team at the time. I thought they were unbeatable. I mean, I didn't think nobody could beat them.
Nobody thought we could beat. Yeah, we had a snow as far as the media and everybody outside of our locker room thought, that we can win that game. And that's the other great thing about Coach V. Coach V was a great motivator. And in the semifinals, we played against Georgia. And you talk about Queensbridge in the house, New York City ball plays in the house. Georgia had Vern Fleming. Where's Vern Fleming from? Queensbridge. Where did Vern Fleming go to school? Monte Christi. Where did Vern Fleming go to college? Georgia. So we played against Vern in the semifinals of that game. Okay. And the second game was Louisville versus Houston. And you're talking about a dunk fest. That game had about maybe 10 or 15 different dunks, vicious dunks, guys dunk on each other. It was an unbelievable game. And no one thought that we had a chance against either one of those teams. Houston ends up winning the game, and everybody's saying, like, how the hell is NC State and that nice team, but nowhere as athletic as Houston with Akeem the Dream, Olajuwon, and Drexler, and all these guys.
Slammer Jammer. Slammer Jammer.
And Coach Valvano strategized, came up with a strategy, told our players, we're not going to hold the ball. You know, the media, they think we're going to freeze the ball, hold the ball, and keep the game in the doggone.
That's what I thought. I thought that's what Joe was going to do.
Yeah. And he said, I'm going to talk to the media, obviously, and I'm going to leave that out there and make them think we're going to hold the ball and play slow down ball, but we're going right after their ass. We're going to play right after them, okay? We ain't going to hold back from nobody. And the guys were so excited, okay? The one thing that he said he didn't want to happen, he didn't want no dunks because that's what got them going. That's what got the crowd going. That's what riled everybody up. So the one thing he said was, I forbid you guys to allow any dunks. Thurl Bailey, Lorenzo Charles, Cozell McQueen was our big guys, Alvin Battle. If a guy comes in there, I don't care who it is, Olajuwon, whoever, we're going to knock him out. We're not going to let him dunk on us, okay? No dunks. And the ironic thing was the first play of the game for us was a dunk by Thurl Bailey, and the last play for us was a dunk by Lorenzo Charles. So the ironic, we didn't allow any dunks, but we got two to start the game off and to end the game.
That's crazy. That's an incredible thing. I never realized that till you just said it.
Yes, that's true story. True story. But going back to the game,
as far as your basketball career, man, I think you've had an incredible career. Like I said, I believe you've been involved with the top three basketball situations in college basketball. I believe that you're part of the top three things that happen in greatest things that happen in college basketball.
Well, thank you for that. And let me just add to it. I appreciate you saying that and looking back on it. To be honest with you, Alan, I forgot about the ACC championship game. You know, like I said, the NCAA championship dwarfs and just overshadows that ACC championship against Ralph Sampson. And let me put a little caveat in there. During our run, okay, to the national championship and getting to the Final Four in Albuquerque, New Mexico, guess against and meet again in the NCAA tournament, Ralph Sampson and the Virginia University. Now
you beat them twice.
Yes, you talking about we played them for the right to go to the Final Four. Okay, we played them in the regional championship. Okay, and the right to go to the Final Four. So as you mentioned, we not only stopped Ralph Sampson from winning the ACC championship that year, we ended his career in college, okay, when we beat him the second time in the NCAA tournament regional championship for the right to go to the Final Four. So that was a heck of a game, you know, because they had every reason in the world to want to kill us and
listen,
you know.
At that time, I just recently watched his story. His story. I'll be watching that 30 for 30 and stuff like that.
Right.
And he was a phenomenon. He was like the greatest thing since sliced bread when it came to college basketball. And the fact that he never won an ACA championship.
No.
And he never won an NCAA championship, but he was all world. He was the best for his whole 4 years. He was the best player in college basketball.
Oh, let me tell you something. There was no scouting report that you could put together to stop Ralph Sampson. Okay. The only way you can maybe have a chance to slow him down was to put 2 or 3 guys on him and hope that he passed the ball to his teammates and he didn't take the shot, but he would get the offensive rebound. This guy 7'4", run like a deer, great hands, great athlete. At times he can bring the ball up and dribble it up himself. Okay. So, no, he was by far, I think he might've been the National Player of the Year every year that he played in college. Or I know, definitely the majority of the times he played at UVA. But no, Ralph Sampson was a phenomenal college basketball player and had a good career in the pros. They had that one year when they had the Twin Towers. I think it was Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson playing on the same team as Houston Rockets in the NBA. So
okay.
I think they won it that year, or they got to the championship. I'm not sure, but no, he was a phenomenal player. Phenomenal player.
Yeah. When you look back on things, you don't realize in real time when you're watching it, you don't realize the greatness of it until you look back on it and you say, "Yo, that was phenomenal. That was a pretty great thing." And I say that you was getting back to talking about the culture that we had back in the day in the center and all that. And that's why I was talking about, like, at one time, there was at least 14 a stretch there between, I would say, from 1980 to 1990. That night, the 80s, a lot of players came out of Queensbridge. A lot of Division I players came out of Queensbridge.
Well, let me say this, Alan. When I came out of high school in 73, I went to Notre Dame, 73, 74. There wasn't the invention, or there wasn't the McDonald's All-Americans at the time. What they called it back then was the Dapper Dan. That was the marquee All-Star.
Right.
The Dapper Dan that was held in Pittsburgh at the Civic Center in Pittsburgh. That was the forerunner to the McDonald's All-American game and to the Jordan game and all the stuff that's going on today. Okay. I bring that up to say this. For about a 10-year period, okay, Monte Cristi High School produced every year in that 10-year period at least one McDonald's All-American. And that's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
That's phenomenal. Okay. And you're 100% right. In the 80s, that decade of the 80s, Monte Cristi High School was producing McDonald's All-Americans, and they all came from Queensbridge.
Yeah.
Or the majority of them came from Queensbridge. I say that because Red Bruin lived in Raven, but he was a Queensbridge guy.
He was in Queensbridge all the time.
He said QB all the time. Okay. But they also had some guys who played in East Elmhurst, like Bernard Rencher, okay, who was East Elmhurst, okay, and Greg Coles, who was East Elmhurst. But then you had Roy Beekman and myself. You had, Vern. You had Red Bruin. You had Dwayne Johnson.
Where did Andy go to school at?
Andy went to Niagara, but he
I know, but high school.
He went to Long Island City.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
And let me tell you something. We haven't even talked about all the outstanding players that came out of Long Island City High School, which is right in our neighborhood. That's the public that everybody would go to if they didn't go to
for a minute. We having network issues. I hope it comes back. And give it a second. There you go.
Oh, we froze. What I was saying is we haven't even talked about all the great players that came out of Long Island City High School. We mentioned Pot Holly. We mentioned Walter Lloyd. We mentioned the Glover brothers. We mentioned Wally and Willie Hooper. Okay, I can go on and on. Jerry Simmons, my brother Terry Martin, all these guys that came out of Queensbridge and Long Island City or came from the neighborhood from, I want to say, the early 70s through probably the 90s. or up to the 90s, is when from public school into the private schools, into the Catholic schools. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why LIC didn't get a lot of the guys to continue the tradition of great players coming out of LIC, because mostly our generation went to either Catholic schools or private schools, prep schools as they call it today. But
yeah.
Phenomenal number of athletes. Ronnie Williams, my brother-in-law. Okay.
Yeah.
A phenomenal ball player that went to.
Yo, I remember watching him in college. You know, he's still the leading scorer for Florida, right?
That's what they tell me. You know,
no,
now,
to this day, he's still a leading scorer.
They disputed by saying that Mad Max, Vernon Maxwell, might have passed him. I don't know what the whole deal is.
I looked it up recently. He's still the leading scorer.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't understand. Let me tell you something. I cannot find any video of him playing. I'm about to call the school and ask you why is there no video of him circulating and he's your leading scorer? Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah. I'm sure they have game tape of when he was there. And he played at a time in the SEC when Kentucky was phenomenal. They had, all the big time recruits. They had all the big time players, and Ronnie dealt with all of them and dominated the baseline. At 6'8".
Absolutely. Under the basket, he was the man.
Unstoppable. And he led the University of Florida in scoring and in rebounding. Okay.
And he never jumped that high. But what I found so incredible, he didn't really jump like that.
He was very skilled, like Jokic. Okay.
Yeah.
Jokic doesn't jump very high, but he's very skilled. Okay.
Yeah.
And without taking away the assists, Ronnie was the scorer and a rebounder. And again, he got drafted by the Boston Celtics and was the last player cut by the Celtics. And from my understanding, they asked him to go to Europe and play over there, because at the time there wasn't any G League and nothing like that. He would go to Europe and play. They asked him to go to Europe and play, and then hopefully, in a year's time, you come on back. But I think he went to Europe. He really enjoyed playing over there and made a career out of it, and never really thought twice about coming back to the NBA.
I never really got a chance to talk to him about his career. Seemed like I turned around and he was gone. I remember when he told me he was sick, and he had just moved out here by me, because I live in Springfield Gardens, and he wasn't living too far from me. And I ran into him a few times. And I used to, back in the day when I first started my record label, and he was bodyguarding at Sue's. And I used to go up there and get treated like I was somebody for real, because he was at the door with his big ass, and he let me right in, and I ain't had to pay nothing, go right in. I'd go in the VIP and all that, like a king. It's funny. I had that situation with my sister.
He was a teddy bear.
She ran one of the hottest nightclubs in New York for about 4 or 5 years, Envy's. I remember going in there like I was really somebody. At one time, I was caddying for Jeff Blake, football player, quarterback for the Saints. And I was caddying for him right when he signed that $8 million contract. And I was caddying for him. Man, he paid me 2 G's that year for caddying for him. But I took him and Jeff Hosteller. He was the quarterback for the Giants at the time. He was an alcoholic. Jeff Hosteller. I took him and Jeff Hosteller into MVs. And they was amazed, because at that time, MVs was hot. And we walked in like we was the kings. And he was like, how you get? I said, my sister runs this motherfucker. That's how. I took them in there like, as a matter of fact, that same night, I took a limousine with them over to China Club. And I was in the VIP with, what's my man, wide receiver for San Francisco? Jerry Rice. So I'm in VIP with Jerry Rice, Jeff Hosteller, and Jeff Blake. I ain't really nobody, but I'm trying to make myself into somebody. But that's just a little sideway.
You ain't a nobody. You were somebody. We're gonna have to do a part A and a part B of this interview because we could
we
talk
may have
forever.
to
I'm telling
because
you right now.
we done been on here
part
by the time, and we ain't even got into no real Queensbridge stuff like going up on 12th Street. But that was like, because I like to tell people all the time, the reason why I knew almost everybody in Queensbridge is because we lived on 12th Street. And if you remember back in the day, you had to come through 12th Street or walk around the sides of 12th Street to get to the plaza to get to the train. So everybody always came through 12th Street. So that's why we knew everybody. We'd be sitting on them benches over there by, as a matter of fact, over there by your building, the benches right there. And everybody would come past. So we knew everybody because of that. And I tell people, for me,
either sitting at the benches or we at the card table, one or the other.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
On my block.
Right there in front of Danny's and the Taylor's building, your building, Gary Holmes, that era, we was always there. As a matter of fact, I got a picture online right now there. We sitting out there with them Toyos when we robbed the factory, the Toyo factory, got all them radios and stuff from Toyo. I got a picture of us sitting out there with them radios, listening to one of them radios. But
and the Sony, all the Sony stuff, and all that stuff.
We got Sony one day. And you know what I always remember, and I miss him, and I was going to ask you about Johnny Key, because Johnny Key used to take take my little hustle money from me almost every day at the card table, and I didn't realize till I got much older that he was dealing off the bottom of the deck. That's why he used to beat me all the time. He used to take my money from me all the time. But that was my man. I really looked up to him. I looked up to you. I looked up to him. I looked up to Potts. There's quite a few people that they may not know it, that they influenced me, and I looked up to them. And especially when it comes to me playing basketball, looking up to you, Potts, like he used to get on me all the time because I think he's seen something in me, and he used to get on me all the time, and he would be teasing me about playing until one day I told him, I said, yo. And this was at the time, I was about 17. I was in good shape. And I told him, because at the time, Potts was doing this thing. And I told him, I said, bruh, I can beat you now. I said, you can't beat me. He said, man, I'll beat you like I own you. I said, well, let's bet $50. So we went over on 41st side of Vernon. As a matter of fact, was it Cheese? Who Potts used to hang out with? Which Jackson did Potts used to hang out with?
No, Robbie Jackson. Robbie
held the money.
Yeah,
Robbie held the money. And I beat him. I couldn't play that good. I couldn't shoot that good, but I knew I was in good shape. So what I would do, I'd just shoot the ball and then run to the basket, rebound it, and lay it up. I kept doing that to him. He wasn't in the shape that I was in. And I told him, I said, bro, you're not in the shape that I'm in. And he lost. He had to give me that $50. But that's what gave me the knowledge that I could play if I learned how to play correctly. So it was that, and like I said, that 1 year playing for Hank, because I understood what you said about that point guard, because he used to always be yelling, take it up the Miller, take it up the Miller, take it up the Miller. I didn't understand why he was saying that until I got into college and I really started to learn how to play the game. Understand, if you're a point guard, that's where you're supposed to be, from the baseline. I mean, from the foul line to foul line. That's basically your area. Right. You know, and when you come down with the ball, you're supposed to take it down the middle so you can stop right at the foul line, and you can pass it right or pass it left. You ain't got them, or you can take the little shot right there. So that's why he was always saying take it down the middle. But it took me a long time to understand that. So
no, you're right. Because what happens is, you are directing a fast break where you got guys on the wings that are running the lanes. Okay, so you don't want to be in somebody else's lane, especially with the ball. You want to be in the middle, because when you're in the middle, defenses have a lot of tough time stopping you, because if you're on one side of the sideline or the other, they can box you in. They can push you against the sideline, and now it's like two guys guarding one. But when you're in the middle of the court, you go either side depending on what's best for your particular situation. So as a point guard, you come down the middle, and if they didn't guard you, you take it right to the rim. If they was stopping you and stopping the ball, you take it what they call the nail, and you take it to the nail, which is right in the middle of the foul line. Okay, and the reason they call it the nail is, I don't know if you realize this, but every court you go on, every wooden court you go on, and maybe even some that are not made of wood or hardwood, the nail on the foul line, your rim, is 15 feet from the foul line to the rim. So as an engineer, as a person putting the rim together and putting the court together, you got to measure that stuff. So they put a nail, they measure it with a cord or whatever, and they put a nail right on mark, and they hammer that nail into the court. So you go on any court, unless the paint has covered it, you can dig right in the center of the foul line.
It'll be a nail
right in the middle of the foul line, right there at the halfway. There's a nail.
Never knew that.
And that's when you say go to the nail. Yeah, that's what they call it.
Never knew that.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
yeah, that one year playing with Hank.
Part B. We probably could do part 1, part 2, because I got to go to my grandson's birthday party. They're gonna jam me up if I don't. And we haven't even talked about half of the stuff we want to talk about.
Exactly.
You talk about Queensbridge. You talk about the coaches that I had opportunity to play for, like Hank Carter and Curtis Shipman, One-Eyed Sam up in Harlem, who coached Joe Hyman, and those guys up there in Harlem.
Did you play at the Rucker? You ever play at the Rucker?
Let's put this to a close now.
Did you ever play at the Rucker?
Oh, no doubt. That's what I'm saying. We need a part. That's why we need a part 2. Because
no doubt,
I'm gonna tell you a story about the Rucker when I played there. Okay, that I was there at the time when they had the greatest game ever played at the Rucker.
No, don't tell me you're part of another history
in person. We'll leave that. Okay.
All right. Listen, Ray, man, it's a pleasure talking to you, man. I'm so glad we finally got to do this, and I look forward to the part 2, man. Right. You go take care of your grandchildren, man, and have a blessed day, man, and kiss them babies for me, man. And it's very good seeing you and talking to you. You know, I appreciate you doing this, for real.
No doubt, man. I told you we're going to get it done. Don't care if it takes 10 years, we're gonna get it done, baby. And I'll be here to do part 2, and we'll have some fun in doing part 2.
No doubt.
God bless you and your family, and take care.
Thank you. You have a blessed day, man. Be safe.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.